The word today is heart expression. The affirmation, you are dear to me. I hold you in my heart. Sharing love is a wonderful way of discovering and responding to the divinity alive in every heart, binding us as a human family. My loving nature helps me see the best in every person whose life touches mine. Today, I remember one of the legends of Saint Valentine, in which he fashioned pieces of parchment into hearts, which he gave to others as tokens of his compassion and God's love. Today, the tradition continues when I say, you are dear to me, I hold you in my heart, with a card, gift, call, or a simple act of kindness. I share love with no expectation of reciprocation, and my heart welcomes every expression of love from others. Love's energy grows through both giving and receiving. John 13:34. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another.
Your friendly announcer. I have serious news to pass on to everybody. What I'm about to say could mean the world's disaster and change your joy and laughter today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Hey, it's gone round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far. Ooh, ooh. The voice of evil plans to make you its possession, and it will if you let it destroy everybody. We all must take precautionary measures if love and peace you treasure, then you'll hear me when I say, oh, that love's in need of a love today. Oh, stop me, please, before we go too far. Ooh.
His hand make this world a better place. Yes, we can reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. Yes, we can reach out and touch. Won't you reach out?
Somebody's hand.
Touch somebody's hand.
Make this world a better place.
Make this world a better place.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Reach out and
Won't you
touch
reach out?
somebody's hand.
Touch somebody's hand.
Make this world a better place.
Come on, yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Reach out.
Reach out and
Won't you
touch
touch
somebody's hand.
somebody,
Make
somebody?
this world a better
We can make a
place.
better place.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Reach out and
Won't
touch
you reach out?
somebody's
Go ahead,
hand.
touch somebody's
Make this world
hand.
a better
Make this
place.
world a better place.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we
Reach
can.
out.
On July 11th, 1958, at 2 a.m., a county sheriff entered the home of Virginia couple Richard and Mildred Loving, forced them out of their bed, and placed them under arrest. Their crime? Interracial marriage. This is the story of Loving versus Virginia and the landmark civil rights decision that would set an important precedent for marriage rights in America. Richard, who was white, and Mildred, who was Black and Native American, spent the early morning hours of July 11th in jail. They were tried and found guilty of violating Virginia's Racial Integrity Act of 1924, a series of laws that made race mixing illegal. The Lovings were then given an ultimatum: spend 1 year in prison or leave the state of Virginia for 25 years. Frightened and unaware of their legal options, they moved to Washington, D.C., where their marriage was legal. They raised their 3 children in the nation's capital, financially strapped and isolated from friends and family. 5 years later, they returned to Virginia to visit Mildred's relatives, but were arrested for a second time for traveling together. Inspired by the burgeoning civil rights movement, Mildred decided to fight back. So in 1963, she wrote a letter to U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy asking for his advice. Kennedy referred the Lovings to the American Civil Liberties Union, who assigned their case to 2 young lawyers named Bernard Cohen and Philip Hirschkopf. Cohen and Hirschkopf took their appeal all the way to the Supreme Court, arguing that Virginia's anti-miscegenation laws violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, which guaranteed African Americans citizenship and all its privileges. The broad and sweeping language of the amendment, they argued, made no mention of interracial marriage, and thus guaranteed equal protection of a human being's right to marry. Attorneys from the state of Virginia argued that the state's rights should be prioritized over federal laws. But the argument didn't hold up. On June 12, 1967, the court unanimously struck down the Virginia marriage ban and overturned the Lovings' conviction. The court ruling reverberated across America, invalidating anti-miscegenation laws not only in Virginia, but in 16 other states that held them as well. After winning their case, the Lovings were finally free to do what they wanted to do all along. They lived quietly in Virginia as husband and wife until Richard's death in 1975. Loving versus Virginia would inspire gay marriage advocates during their own Supreme Court victories decades later. For example, 2003's Lawrence versus Texas decision ruled that a Texas statute criminalizing sexual activity between members of the same sex was unconstitutional. The Supreme Court would directly cite Loving in 2 subsequent landmark cases that paved the way for same-sex marriage. The first was 2013's United States versus Windsor, which struck down a key part of the Defense of Marriage Act. And the second was Obergefell versus Hodges, a 2015 ruling which granted same-sex couples around the nation the right to marry. Few cases are so appropriately named as Loving versus Virginia, a case about one couple's brave fight to validate their love in the eyes of the law. Loving versus Virginia forever redefined marriage in the United States.
Happy Sunday and happy Black History Month. Welcome back into another time of sharing and reflecting and walking together as we use this entire month to really open us up to a full awareness of the accomplishments, the contributions, and the stories of great people from the African diaspora who live in these United States. We call this Black History Month, but it's really a kickoff into opening our eyes to hidden figures all around us and celebrate those accomplishments. And our intention with this series is to help us to normalize that excellence, whether it be in a white or Black or brown body. Excellence transcends all of this. And so this is a celebration of the excellence of our people and certainly my ancestors. So grateful for Reverend Eric kicking us off and helping us to get into some good trouble with John Lewis and C.T. Vivian. Throw some hearts and thumbs up for our beloved brother Rev who kicked us off. And today, just to get into our message, I want to give you the topic, the good news about loving. The good news about loving. That's the subject today. And I'm going to back into my subject. I need to put a context around this subject so that we can have a full appreciation of the individuals that we will be lifting up here today. The story and the journey of people of African descent in the United States is not only their story, it's not only our history, but it is American history. Black history is American history. Our very origins and beginnings in this country, the way we arrived to these shores, makes our story really the American story. So I just want us to, as you're thinking about Black history, as you're thinking about the accomplishments of people of African descent in the United States, as you're celebrating this, I want us to first and foremost not separate it from any other part of American history. The thing is that our stories have just been the least told stories, but they've always been a part of the American story. And so Black history is American history. Now, just to talk about Black history in the United States, you're always going to be engaging with the context in which those stories arise, and those stories arrive in the context of oppression. So it's a story that speaks of joys and great accomplishment, but those great accomplishments are always predicated upon crawling out, breaking through a context of oppression. And this is important to understand. This is important to appreciate, because what you have when you are looking at the successes, the great accomplishments of people of African descent in the United States are those who did double the work. to achieve whatever measure of a success that has been achieved. I want you to understand that there's double taxation involved with those of your black and brown brothers and sisters, those from the African diaspora. And I lift that up because it is easy to appreciate the surface of something. But when I really understand what it took, then it possibly may cause me to connect more deeply and have not only appreciation of the accomplishment, but appreciation of the individuals who made the accomplishment. And isn't that what this month is about? Helping us to establish an attitude and an appetite of appreciation for our brothers and sisters of the African diaspora who live in the United States. Can we appreciate them? And we do this by understanding what it takes. It took double. Just put that in the chat room. It took double. Go ahead and put that in the chat room. It took double. And so this is so important to point out, because when we're talking about the accomplishments of people of African descent in the United States of America, you're talking about a society that placed individuals in our country as non-persons, or as the Constitution said, were 3/5 of a person. This is so important, because when you can determine how much personhood someone has, you can establish laws that governs that personhood or the lack thereof. I want you to be with that for a moment. So when we're looking at the journey and the struggle, you're looking at the journey and struggle of individuals in society who are seeking to be validated and recognized for what they know themselves to be, which is fully human. Our story is always interlaced with that. But the journey brings us into context with what we would call unjust laws. Unjust laws. And it's so important to lift up this conversation of unjust laws in the context of this moment that we're in right now, because these laws fundamentally subject and oppress and makes it legal to discriminate against, to act out with violence against, and to completely ignore and extract necessary resources from an entire group of people in the United States. Now, I told you that our history, our story, albeit it gets to this place of the shiny and beautiful, it's always laced with this pressing against a context and a construct of systemic oppression. But tell somebody in the chat room, tell them that didn't stop us. Go ahead, just put it in the chat room. That didn't stop us. That didn't stop us. And it never has, and it never does. Why? Why? Let's look at this first point. This first point is so important. While there are things in this society that are legal, it does not necessarily make them moral. Everything that is legal is not moral. Come on, just get that dialed in. Everything that is legal is not moral. This is what an unjust law is. It is calling on you and I to cooperate with something that we fundamentally know is not right, though it is legal. Everything that is legal is not moral. So, the moral character, the moral consciousness, the one oriented toward his spiritual development and unfoldment is always interested in leaning toward what makes him more moral, whether it be legal or illegal. I want to be right. In fact, my ancestors would say it like this: I want to be right with God. See, in the absence of material supply, in the absence of the kind of social standing that others of our relatives, white and other, enjoyed in the society, one of the things that seemed to be consistent with my ancestors is that they identified as a priority a relationship with the Creator, a relationship with God. I want to be right with God. And in order to be right with God, I may have to be wrong with this unjust law. Cooperation with that which is legal but not moral is a soul violation to a consciously awake person and promotes the establishment or maintenance of more unjust laws. Let me say it again. I'm going to say it over here. Cooperation with that which is legal but not moral is a soul violation to a consciously awake person and promotes the establishment or maintenance of more unjust laws. This is why you hear the Black Lives Matter activists saying white silence is violence. Are you hearing me? In the face of what seems to be terrorizing and terrible social conditioning, humiliating social conditions against individuals who you would otherwise identify as friends and brothers and beloveds. My non-action, my silence is complicitness with unjust social laws. Ooh. Now listen, I'm not here to upset you. I'm here to set you up. Did you hear what I said? I am not here to upset you. I'm here to set you up to becoming more, to becoming fully human, to becoming more divine. And so this business of resisting unjust laws is not unique to the struggle of African Americans in the United States. Certainly we know that this was a part of the journey of Gandhi and those in India in their interactions with the British. But we also know that it visited the master teacher Jesus, because he too had to challenge unjust laws. He had to challenge those unjust laws lest we would have a more exclusive society and more of the violence against the minority population of his day, the untouchable population of his day, the leper and the prostitute, and those with whom he spent his time. Those individuals who were outcasts would not have been welcomed into the household of faith. He was asked about this business of unjust laws because he was about the business of breaking one of those unjust laws. You know what one of the unjust laws were in Jesus' day? You ready for this? Healing on the Sabbath day. it was against the law to heal on the Sabbath day or to do any form of work on the Sabbath day. The Sabbath day was set aside as a holy day, a day of rest. And the religious people got together and decided that nothing was to happen in the way of work on the Sabbath day. And Jesus was busy breaking laws on the Sabbath day by healing the sick on the Sabbath day. I want you to be inside of the perplexity of that. I want you to be inside of the perplexity of that situation, that you're saying to me that I cannot do good because it's a holy day. Listen to me, folks. I cannot do good because it's a holy day. I cannot do good on the holy day. I must wait until some other day comes. Does this sound familiar? This is why Dr. King says, justice delayed is often justice denied. There's no waiting. In the moment that I am equipped to respond to the trauma and the pain, I am to bring salve as a morally conscious, a spiritually connected soul. So it's recorded in Matthew 2:27, says, where they ask him about this healing on the Sabbath. He responded to them saying, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. In other words, we made the law, we can unmake the law. What's most important is the manner in which the law is treating its citizens. It's here to serve us. It's here to create an environment with which all persons can thrive. He understood that. So he had them to understand, I'm going to be healing on the Sabbath. Don't get it twisted. This law was made for us. We were not made as its subjects. And this is the whole business with tyrannical rule. That this propagation of law as a way of governing human life so that we become this nation of laws. Suddenly we're a nation of laws. But are we interested in the law being utilized to serve to bring out the optimal conditions of society, or are we interested in law so that we can be setting the conditions for bad rulers? I want you to go back to the time in this country where you felt you had come into contact with an unjust law. We had this in our unity history, didn't we? The Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman, the first African-American woman to sleep on the Unity campus. She integrated the Unity campus in disobedience, in non-cooperation with the Jim Crow laws that were active in Lee Summit, Missouri at the time. Unity itself, though it had this high and powerful and morally correct message, which says, I am one with God, I am one with people, I am one with all life, I am one with the one. This powerful message that we represented had not compelled us to take the courageous action to challenge the unjust laws called Jim Crow in the known South at that time. And so I want to circle back for a minute. When I said earlier that when we're looking at the accomplishment of African Americans and people of the African diaspora in the United States, when we're looking at those accomplishments, you're looking at someone who had to press against the entire society and the way it is in society, and risk social standing, and risk the possibility of employment, and risk so much in the name of love. Because truly, in order to have an inclusive society, you got to be rooted in love. Anyone willing to trade places with some of these heroes and sheroes of our faith? Now, today we're looking at the Lovings, literally the Lovings, who made it possible in the United States for interracial marriage to become legalized. Let me give you a little bit of history. You saw the video. Let me give you a little bit of history. Loving versus Virginia Supreme Court case was a Supreme Court case that struck down state laws banning interracial marriage in the United States. The plaintiffs in the case were Richard and Mildred Loving, a white man and a Black and Native American woman whose marriage was deemed illegal according to Virginia state law. With the help of the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, the Lovings appealed to the United States Supreme Court, which ruled unanimously that so-called anti-miscegenation statutes were unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment. The decision is often cited as the watershed moment in the dismantling of Jim Crow race laws. What's powerful about these two individuals who found each other and who found something in each other worth devoting their entire lives to is that their whole journey was one rooted in love. In fact, their name is Loving. And I find it interesting that what they had to confront in order to be married. Now listen, I love being married, but let me tell you, marriage is not this piece of cake, this walk in the park. You're not advocating for, all, bed of roses. Isn't that right, Anita Ross? So we're talking about something that's very personal, something that's very private between two individuals who have found each other and they want to work it out with each other. However, we're living in a society where something that is so normal as moving with the impulse of the love in your heart, choosing to join with one another to say that I'm wanting to bring our lives together for the purpose of spiritual growth and the establishment of a family. Something so normal can be so warped because of unjust laws, those unjust laws which were deeming these two lovebirds as being less than equal, less than whole persons, less. Do you understand how they found them? They literally raided their homes and hoped to find them in bed having sex because at that time, that was illegal in the state of Virginia. I want you to get this. These people had to flee from Virginia to go to Washington, D.C. to get married, only to come back and then have to face prosecution. I'm talking about double taxation. When we come forth with victories, we are doing it not just for ourselves, but for the entire human household. Everybody, all boats are lifted through the accomplishments of these two. Now listen very carefully. It is not a hard stretch to see the intersectionality of this important law being passed. And moreover, the unjust laws being struck down. Their fight was not just their fight. Their fight was the fight of every person who was treated less than human in this country of ours. And there's so many individuals who contributed to the dismantling of unjust laws and unjust social practices but because of who they were not cited in the historical record. I was talking earlier to my staff about a very important historical figure, perhaps one of the most important historical figures who made it possible for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to go down in infamy, or in history, as it were. It was a black, gay man who orchestrated the March on Washington named Bayard Rustin. He was an openly gay man in the 50s and in the 60s. And he was the mastermind, get this, he was the mastermind behind the entire March on Washington, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous I Have a Dream speech. Were it not for his contribution, were it not for his sacrifice, were it not for him pressing past the lie that said he was inhuman, the lie that said he was some kind of animal, were it not for that, and his willingness to press into the transcendent level, the idea that the divinity of God is in all persons and he had a right to appear, and everyone like him had a right to be. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. may not be as well known as he is today, as respected as he is today, because somebody had to plan the event. He was hiding right there in plain sight. And if you go back and look at some of the film and the footage of that day, you will see him standing on that great stage, shot calling, as it were. Why do I bring in Bayard Rustin? I bring in Bayard Rustin because of the intersectionality of this very important accomplishment. Here's the thing. Freedom is a messy business. Love is a messy business. Once you get love out of the bag, you cannot unsee the love that you have seen. Once you start seeing humanity in some people, something about that business of humanity turns on in the eyes and in the lights of everyone who had bought into the lie of their own inferiority. I lift up Bayard Rustin in the context of the loving case because this courageous couple opened the way for what has of recent, in the last 5 or 6 years, become the recognition of same-gender loving couples and their right to wed. I want you to understand something about this. I really have been sitting with what is the unique assignment for those from the African diaspora in the country? What is ours to do? Why such an uneasy burden? Why? And I believe our role and function in this society is to be the moral consciousness of this nation, to be the fulfillment and the help to bring forth the complete evolution of our total humanity, and to show us all of our divine nature. I want you to get this. I'm going to wrap up. There's so many who consider themselves good people, loving people, caring people, who are at this very moment writing new pages in history with their silence and inaction and non-participation. Guilty by association. Listen to this for a minute. Watching the great struggles that exist in our country right now, of individuals that you work with and worship with and you travel with and you vacation with. And yet when they're under fire, silence. Silence. But with the same breath claim to love God. Here's what's said in 1 John 4:20. Whoever claims to love God, yet hates his brother or sister, is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen, cannot love God whom they have not seen. Love is as love does. Type that in the chat room. Love is as love does. You and I are on this journey together at this particular time in human history to bring all of the fragmented and segregated parts of ourselves into full integration into ourselves, so that when I say I love God, I show that I love God by loving all that God has made. For you and I, the master teacher said, you and I are gods. This is what Jesus said. Know ye not that ye are gods. The very presence of God had to find a landing place, and that landing place at this particular time, as it concerns me, happened to be a brown frame, a good-looking brown frame. When God wanted to touch down in a unique configuration, he touched down, or Spirit touched down, in the form called Kevin Ross, and it just happens to be a brown form, but because I'm a brown form does not make me any less of God than you are. Are you hearing me today? So when you say that I love God, you are necessarily saying that you love all people, because God has residence in humanity. God says that you and I, all people, are made in the image and likeness of God. You are just like God. My reflection, whether it be a brown expression, is still the expression and the reflection of God. I want you to catch that, so that we can bring all of this together, so that we're integrated completely. My love takes an action. Here's how it works with Jesus. John 3:16, with which our brothers and sisters who identify themselves as Christians love to quote this passage. For God so loved the world that God created unjust laws, that those who God loved the most could have eternal life. Is that what it says? No. It says, for God so loved the world. The world in its entirety, that God gave God's self. This idea of the Son, God gave his only begotten son. In unity, we understand the only begotten son to mean the very image and likeness of God, the divine pattern that is in every person. This is the Son of God. Your divinity is the Son of God. Your divinity is the Son of God. Your divinity is the Son of God. This is what God gave all of humanity. Itself, God gave of itself its own divine nature, that whosoever should act out in that divine nature shall not perish, shall not experience the effects of sin and separation, shall not perish, but experience everlasting life. And here's what I want you to know. Here's what I want you to know about God kind of love. The love of God is always unconditional. The love of God is always unlegislatable. The love of God is irreversible, demonstrable, and the love of God is always personal. God is not just impersonal law, but God is personal as spirit. So I want you to understand that as you are choosing more and more to integrate all of the fragmented parts, all the conflicting parts, all the aspects of self that seem to be uncomfortable in this moment, in these times where we're witnessing what it looks like to act out hate in public, you and I have found love. You and I have found love. So now that we found love, what are we going to do with it? Because love is as love does. Be encouraged and know that as you take steps forth in taking courageous acts of love, confronting unjust laws, confronting unjust norms, confronting that which seems to hold back and deny someone else their divinity. When you do this, know that the presence of God is right there with you to give you power, to accomplish the seemingly impossible. For with God, not some things, but all things are possible, now and forevermore. And so it is written, and so I have spoken it, and so you have heard it, and so it is. Amen and amen. Namaste.
Yes, I'm free.
Free every day, I'm no longer a slave. God can make
Hi, I'm Kevin Ross, joined by my friend, the Reverend Eric Donaldson, and welcome to Breathing Space. This is an opportunity for us to sit down and look at the ways in which we can create more centered, soulful, and successful living. And the good news is we didn't get here by accident. We took our own journey in getting to creating some breathing space and happened to share our ideas in this new book, Breathing Space, a 52-week meditation journey for centered, soulful, and successful living. Revi, tell us, what is meditation?
Meditation is the stilling of the mind and the soul for the sake of recentering and deepening one's spirituality, let's say. It's our opportunity to stop and recollect ourselves so that we can be more effective and efficient in our daily activities. Clearer.
Why do so many people struggle with meditating?
I think it's something that I call the mental murmurs. We are constantly going and inundated with things that are happening around ourselves that we really don't have an opportunity or the time. We don't give ourselves the time to do self-care, to really recenter ourselves and work these issues and problems out from the center to the circumference. And so we begin to take it all on, and it's kind of like taking on water in a vessel, taking on water in a boat. And when it gets too high, when the water gets too high, we find ourselves gasping for air, trying to get a breath.
You know, in this present double pandemic that we've been living in, people are experiencing more stress, more senses of isolation and anxiety, depression. Some people are even threatening suicide, having some serious mental health issues. As you know, we get these phone calls all of the time. What do you feel the benefit of meditation is, particularly in the context of this pandemic, for people, especially who are really pressed and challenged by this time we're living in?
Yeah. Think of all of the uncertainties that happen in a pandemic, any pandemic, whether or not you have the capacity to survive it, or your family, or your friends, your co-workers. All of us are in it together, but we are taking it moment by moment, and that uncertainty is really something that I think concerns so many people.
So are you saying meditation helps us to then what?
So meditation, what meditation does, it helps us to stay centered so that we can see the clear answers that are available to us. It's helping us to recenter so that we can move through these times, these uncertain times, with clarity.
We dedicated this book in a unique way, and I want to share that dedication with you because I think whether you are a part of our breathing space journey or not, I believe these words will speak to you. It says, "To a breathless world, weary with the fatigue of a double pandemic, may these pages offer you a safe space to exhale, rebuild, and repossess your breath and the promise it is for humanity's future." There's something so important about having the ability to have full ownership of your breath, to have the ability to take it away from all of the ways in which it gets distracted, and to have, as you pointed out, a clear path forward. So in our breathing space way of meditation journal, we are helping people with a week by week guided process that gives them a positive thought to think and a series of question prompts to work with on a day-by-day basis for 52 weeks. You know, I think the gift of our friendship has allowed us to see what has worked for us. One of my favorite parts of my spiritual practice is that of journaling. And journaling for me allows me to contemplate on the spiritual truths and process through it on a day-by-day basis. And so there are many ways in which to practice mindfulness. In our breathing space way of meditation journal, we bring both of those together. So you have a guided meditation on a powerful word, and you also have a prompt that takes you through that so that you can journal and just process through. And I think it's so important to process.
It really is. And I got to tell you, the two together, meditating and journaling combined, is such a powerful tool. Two powerful tools put together.
Yeah. And so we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to take part in our breathing space way of meditation retreat that's coming up and be guided by this 52-week journey so that you can have your own sense of centered, soulful, and successful living. Watch this. The Breathing Space Journey Retreat is a half-day opportunity for busy people who want to carve out some time to exhale from the busyness of life and connect with like-minded individuals who are ready to be guided in a gentle and creative process for reducing anxiety, relieving stress, and deepening their spiritual practice through meditation. Participants will leave with a step-by-step process for using meditation, contemplation, and journaling to live a centered, soulful, and successful life. So we want you to join us and be a part of the 52-week meditation journey that we're taking in breathing space. Beautiful thing about this book is while you can take the journey with us in the meditation retreat, or you can also take the self-guided journey. And we've organized this book in alphabetical order. So the subjects flow in kind of a beautiful melodic way. And the topics are not your usual topics that you find in everyday meditation type books. This is different. And the other thing that we've included in the Breathing Space Way of Meditation journey is a collection of beautiful images. One of the things that I love to do is reflect and gaze upon the beauty of nature and the beauty as captured in the eyes of others. And you'll see that throughout this book in full color. You'll get that opportunity. So we're trying to bring to you the best of combined practices that we feel will make it easier and simple and rich to take on the meditation journey.
Yes.
Your thought?
So whether you are new at meditating or you are someone who has meditated for years, there's something in this book that will grab you and that you will enjoy for time to come.
And finally, especially for those of us who are experiencing some of the challenge during this pandemic, and you may be taking this journey, we've created a breathing space private Facebook group so that you don't have to do this journey alone. You can do it with others. And we can go far by ourselves, and we can go all the way when we go together.
Yes.
And so you can opt into our Breathing Space Facebook private page in order to connect with other like minds. It's going to be great. And I'm glad that you and we are on this journey together. Remember to breathe. Until next time, peace. As we prepare to bring this Sunday service to a close, I'm reminded to ask all of us to hold in consciousness those of our brothers and sisters in our Asian American community who are also experiencing tremendous discrimination at this time because of the poor mischaracterization of the coronavirus as being attributed to them. Let's lift them up and express as much compassion and sensitivity to our Asian brothers and sisters who are moving through a challenge at this time. We hold them in our hearts and prayers, now and always. Yes? We thank you for being with us today. We thank you for opening your heart and sitting inside of sometimes the discomfort of confronting some of the harsh truths and facts about our journey here in America. We are appreciative that a community like Unity of Sacramento exists where we can grapple with some of the startling and disturbing facts, but yet hold a circle of love that allows us all to belong to this growing, beloved community. And every day and every time we push past that discomfort, we become more and more fully human, and we make room for more and more to sit at the table of universal brotherhood. That's really what it's all about. So I thank you for being a part of this challenging experience that we bring to you at Unity of Sacramento. Well, as we prepare to go, we ask you to consider making Unity of Sacramento your tithing target. A tithe is 1/10 of what God has blessed you with of your increase, of your financial resources, to the place and space where you receive your spiritual nourishment, your spiritual covering. And the promise is that God will open up the very windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that is so abundant, you almost can't receive it all. It's just overflowing. And any of you who are tithers, you know the power of this promise. We invite you to make Unity of Sacramento your tithing target for 2021 and walk with us in faith. It is a faith walk to be a tither, but it's also prioritizing your relationship with Spirit as first and foremost. And I promise you, when you prioritize God first, guess what God does? God prioritizes your needs, your wants first. It is simply a law. You can do so in many ways, but we ask you to consider making your gift on a recurring weekly basis, designating that tithe through our PushPay app. And here are several more ways you can give to Unity of Sacramento.
Visit our website at www.unityofsacramento.com. Right there at the top of the front page, you will see a donation button. Click there to visit our safe and secure PushPay portal. Another easy way to give is through our Unity of Sacramento app. Download the app on your smartphone or tablet, and on the front page, look toward the bottom of the page for your giving heart, which will also take you to our PushPay portal. You can also write us. Send your letters to Unity of Sacramento, 9249 Folsom Boulevard, Sacramento, California, 95826. So many people are shopping online, and if that's what you like to do, Then support us through Amazon Smile. Visit smile.amazon.com and designate Unity of Sacramento as your charity of choice. You will automatically be making a contribution to our beloved community. And of course, you can always make your donation by using Venmo or Cash App, as seen on your screen.
So now that you know how to give and why to give, let's take a moment to bless your gift. Bless the spirit of generosity that's flowing through you, and bless the intention behind the gift. You're really powering a ministry that is committed to awakening people to their divine nature and to co-creating a world that works for all. That's what we're about here. So when you're giving, you are choosing to be a force for good in the world through this ministry. And so I'll pray divine love in and through you, blesses and multiplies all that you are, all that you have, all that you give, all that you receive from the storehouse of God. God's rich supply comes to, through, for, and as you right now. Thanks God so much for so much. Amen and amen. Well, it's been great being with you today, and we're just warming up in this Black History Month of celebration. So keep coming back week after week. We've got more good for you next week. We're so excited to welcome to our spiritual community one of our own next week. We're going to keep it a surprise, so you get ready. We've got a very, very special treat for you next week. Meanwhile, feel free to jump into our virtual friendship hall after the news and hang out and reflect on some of what you've heard and seen in this week's service. Until then, go forth and design a life of purpose, passion, peace, and prosperity, and be a force for good in the world. See you next time. Peace. Happy Sunday and happy Black History Month. Welcome to another edition of Unity of Sacramento News Live. I'm your host, Rev Kev, here with my main man, 100 Grand Rev E.
Hey.
How you doing, Brother Rev?
Doing well.
Hey.
Happy Black History Month to
Happy
you.
Black History Month to you, and great job last Sunday. You did a magnificent
Thank you.
job. Bravo.
Thank
Give him
you.
some more hearts and thumbs up. He really did a great job last Sunday. Kicking off our celebration of the accomplishments and contributions of great African American and people of the African diaspora in the United States. You did a great job, and we want to keep that coming all month long. But to get this news broadcast started, let's go ahead and celebrate the February birthday babies. We've got more coming for you. Who we're celebrating, Brother Rev?
We are celebrating Wanda Lewis.
Happy birthday, Wanda!
Yes.
Gotcha.
Reverend Johnny Coleman.
The late Reverend Dr. Johnny
Yes.
Coleman, our spiritual mother. Happy birthday, Mom. Love you.
Les Brown.
Brother Les Brown, happy birthday.
Shell Blair.
Shell, happy birthday. Hey.
Valinda Alla Chapelle.
Mother Valinda a la Chapelle, happy birthday. We love you.
Yvette Harris.
Yvette, happy birthday. People are missing, man. Go ahead.
And my beloved wife, Reverend Valencia Donaldson. Happy heavenly birthday.
Happy birthday, V. We love you. We love you. Love my February people, man. It's a huge lineup. It's a big month.
Yes,
It's
it is.
I tell you, I have, my late aunt had 4 children born on February 17th, all different years.
Wow.
None twins. And my cousin was born my brother is born the same day.
Wow.
So February 17th just runs through
That's
the family.
amazing.
That's Michael Jordan's birthday. That's also Les Brown's birthday.
Maybe that's why February is the love month.
February, I guess so. Hey, we're talking about love. Happy Love Day to all of you too. We want to continue our news by talking about something very important to all of you. If you have made contributions to Unity of Sacramento, we want to make sure that you know that your contribution statements are ready, and tell them how they can get their contribution statements.
Simply email us at office@unityofsacramento.com and we'll get that statement to you right away. Be sure to let us know whether or not you want us to mail it or to email it. That's
Okay.
very important.
All right, we want to get your contribution statements out to you for tax year 2020, and we're so grateful for your contributions to Unity of Sacramento. We couldn't do it without you. Really appreciate you. We're excited to also announce the date 2/22/21, February 22nd, 2021. It's the Jesus Journey course that Rev E and I are putting together for you and for the Lenten journey. We're going to do something different this year. We're going to walk through Jesus's journey from the cradle all the way to ascension and break down Jesus from all of the various aspects of his life, his teachings, his ministry, and what he was really all about, the historicity of Jesus and the world that he lived in. We're going to look at all of those great things. Are you excited about this?
Very excited, and I'm looking forward to the tag team.
Yeah. Jesus is my favorite subject. If you haven't come to know that, I love to talk about Jesus and talk about all of the complexities of this man from Galilee. So we're going to be talking about Jesus from the cradle to ascension. Rev E and I are going to tag team the course, and you can register for the course through your Unity of Sacramento app. You can go through our Unity of Sacramento website, check your e-blast for details as well. We're ready, and we can't wait for you to join us. It's gonna be
Join
great.
us on the journey.
The Jesus journey. This is how we're going to be using our Lenten time this year. Just another important announcement for everyone. Remember to save the date for February 28th, 2021. February 28th, 2021. Immediately after our Unity of Sacramento Freedom Sunday service, immediately after that magnificent service that we will have with our Unity of Sacramento Expressions of Unity Choir, Reverend Charles Cooper Jr., some of your favorite soloists and voices. after that service, we want you to jump on Zoom because we will be having our annual membership meeting where we will give you a state of the spiritual community report from the Board of Trustees and your staff, as well as elect new members of our trustee board. So it's gonna be a wonderful time. Just jump right in. You also get in your e-blast a way to test the online voting process. So make sure that you are checking your e-blast that we send out to you so that you can test voting, so that you can be the full participant in that call. And I'm grateful for our board member, Cheyenne Harris, who took the lead in making sure that we had that test all set up and ready for you. Looking forward to having you with us. How can they join us in the membership meeting?
You can join us in the membership meeting through our Zoom online platform. And for more information about that, be sure to check your newsletter, check your app, and check all of the information that we are sending on a weekly basis. Very important.
As you already know, we have been very busy in the pandemic, not only moving through all of the challenges and changes of everyday ministry and reaching out to you in the pandemic and listening to you as you've made your various adjustments in spiritual growth, but we've taken some time to salt down and author a new book that we call Breathing Space. It's a 52-week meditation journey for centered, soulful, and successful living. But we didn't stop there. We want to walk with you, alongside you, in a special Breathing Space retreat that Rev, Eric, and I are leading. And for more details on it, watch this. Hi, I'm Kevin Ross, joined by my friend, the Reverend Eric Donaldson, and welcome to Breathing Space. This is an opportunity for us to sit down and look at the ways in which we can create more centered, soulful, and successful living. And the good news is we didn't get here by accident. We took our own journey in getting to creating some breathing space and happened to share our ideas in this new book, Breathing Space, a 52-week meditation journey for centered, soulful, and successful living. Revi, tell us, what is meditation?
Meditation is the stilling of the mind and the soul for the sake of recentering and deepening one's spirituality, let's say. It's our opportunity to stop and recollect ourselves so that we can be more effective and efficient in our daily activities. Clearer.
Why do so many people struggle with meditating?
I think it's something that I call the mental murmurs. We are constantly going and inundated with things that are happening around ourselves that we really don't have an opportunity or the time. We don't give ourselves the time to do self-care, to really recenter ourselves and work these issues and problems out from the center to the circumference. And so we begin to take it all on, and it's kind of like taking on water in a vessel, taking on water in a boat. And when it gets too high, when the water gets too high, we find ourselves gasping for air, trying to get a breath.
You know, in this present double pandemic that we've been living in, people are experiencing more stress, more senses of isolation and anxiety, depression. Some people are even threatening suicide, having some serious mental health issues. As you know, we get these phone calls all of the time. What do you feel the benefit of meditation is, particularly in the context of this pandemic, for people, especially who are really pressed and challenged by this time we're living in?
Yeah. Think of all of the uncertainties that happen in a pandemic, any pandemic, whether or not you have the capacity to survive it, or your family, or your friends, your co-workers. All of us are in it together, but we are taking it moment by moment, and that uncertainty is really something that I think concerns so many people.
So are you saying meditation helps us to then what?
So what meditation does, it helps us to stay centered so that we can see the clear answers that are available to us. It's helping us to recenter so that we can move through these times, these uncertain times, with clarity.
We dedicated this book in a unique way, and I want to share that dedication with you because I think whether you are a part of our breathing space journey or not, I believe these words will speak to you. It says, "To a breathless world, weary with the fatigue of a double pandemic, may these pages offer you a safe space to exhale, rebuild, and repossess your breath, and the promise it is for humanity's future." There's something so important about having the ability to have full ownership of your breath, to have the ability to take it away from all of the ways in which it gets distracted, and to have, as you pointed out, a clear path forward. So in our breathing space way of meditation journal, we are helping people with a week by week guided process that gives them a positive thought to think and a series of question prompts to work with on a day-by-day basis for 52 weeks. You know, I think the gift of our friendship has allowed us to see what has worked for us. One of my favorite parts of my spiritual practice is that of journaling. And journaling for me allows me to contemplate on the spiritual truths and process through it on a day-by-day basis. And so there are many ways in which to practice mindfulness. In our breathing space way of meditation journal, we bring both of those together. So you have a guided meditation on a powerful word, and you also have a prompt that takes you through that so that you can journal and just process through. And I think it's so important to process.
It really is. And I got to tell you, the two together, meditating and journaling combined, is such a powerful tool. Two powerful tools put together.
Yeah. And so we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to take part in our breathing space way of meditation retreat that's coming up and be guided by this 52-week journey so that you can have your own sense of centered, soulful, and successful living. Watch this. The Breathing Space Journey Retreat is a half-day opportunity for busy people who want to carve out some time to exhale from the busyness of life and connect with like-minded individuals who are ready to be guided in a gentle and creative process for reducing anxiety, relieving stress, and deepening their spiritual practice through meditation. Participants will leave with a step-by-step process for using meditation, contemplation, and journaling to live a centered, soulful, and successful life. So we want you to join us and be a part of the 52-week meditation journey that we're taking in breathing space. Beautiful thing about this book is while you can take the journey with us in the meditation retreat, or you can also take the self-guided journey. And we've organized this book in alphabetical order. So the subjects flow in kind of a beautiful melodic way. And the topics are not your usual topics that you find in everyday meditation type books. This is different. And the other thing that we've included in the Breathing Space Way of Meditation journey is a collection of beautiful images. One of the things that I love to do is reflect and gaze upon the beauty of nature and the beauty as captured in the eyes of others. And you'll see that throughout this book in full color. You'll get that opportunity. So we're trying to bring to you the best of combined practices that we feel will make it easier and simple and rich to take on the meditation journey.
Yes.
Your thought?
So whether you are new at meditating or you are someone who has meditated for years, there's something in this book that will grab you and that you will enjoy for time to come.
And finally, especially for those of us who are experiencing some of the challenge during this pandemic, and you may be taking this journey, we've created a breathing space private Facebook group so that you don't have to do this journey alone. You can do it with others, and we can go far by ourselves, and we can go all the way when we go together.
Yes.
And so you can opt into our Breathing Space Facebook private page in order to connect with other like minds. It's going to be great, and I'm glad that you and we are on this journey together. Remember to breathe. Until next time, peace. So I'm looking forward to the Breathing Space retreat. It's going to be all of that in a bag of chips. Make sure
No doubt about it.
to get your copy of the book. You know, when you register for the retreat, you'll get the book, but we're going to personalize it for you, and we're going to personalize the retreat experience for you as well.
Yes.
Very much needed. I know a lot of us need to step away and just have some time for ourselves.
Yes. To breathe.
Yeah. Good opportunity for some good self-care. We want to end this week's Unity of Sacramento News Live with another powerful first, and that is having Sacramento's own first Black ophthalmologist as a member of our community. Watch this about our member, Dr. Tyrone Glover. Watch this.
He's the first African-American ophthalmologist in Sacramento, the area's only oculoplastic surgeon. Dr. Tyrone Glover spent time in the military, traveling the world, before a chance meeting drew him to California 32 years ago.
On a lark, I just go out and take a look. And I immediately fell in love with Sacramento.
One of 3 children, he grew up in the segregated South. Dr. Glover graduated from Hampton University and attended medical school at the University of Virginia, making history there as well.
We started with 3 in my class. By the second year, I was the only African American in my class.
The path to a successful career was no easy feat. He still recalls an experience at a Virginia hospital in 1976.
I could hear people whispering, "Oh, there goes a black doctor. Did you see the black doctor?" like they'd never seen a black doctor before.
Those experiences prepared him for challenges with patients.
I had a few instances where they questioned my abilities, didn't necessarily want me to take care of them.
Nevertheless, he persisted. Dr. Glover retired from Kaiser in 2013. He's now a voluntary clinical professor of ophthalmology at UC Davis, serving as a model for other medical students to follow.
So I think it's important that they see someone who's successful in ophthalmology.
Dr. Tyrone Glover, a medical pioneer. I'm Brandy Cummings, KCRA3 News, celebrating Black history.
Is that awesome or what?
Oh, that's amazing.
And we have a lot of firsts around here.
Yes, we do. I mean, if we keep looking at it, we find that we have a lot of wonderful people that are leaving fantastic legacies of achievement here.
And Dr. Tyrone and his wife, they're low key. They slip into service and come on out. We're surrounded by all these celebrities and local superstars, and we're blessed to have them here.
It's the quiet and humble ones that you got to really look at.
Well, he does have his own bobblehead. Did you notice that?
You didn't see?
He has you deserve a bobblehead. Congratulations,
Yes.
Dr. Glover. We're so happy to celebrate you. Listen, stick around with us now as we wrap up this issue of Unity of Sacramento News Live and hang out with us in our virtual friendship hall. Until next week, we'll see you soon. Peace.